I think we are back in session. Mrs. City Clerk, while we're waiting for the other members of the City Council to come up here, while we're waiting the City Manager and the City Attorney, can you read tab K into the record for us, please?
Yes, Mayor. Discussion regarding expenditure of allocated Biscayne landing monies, tab K4.
Okay, public hearing is open on tab K. Right, public hearing is open on tab K4.
William Dressback, 1840 Northeast 124th Street. My neighbors and I have been at a loss from Causeway Square. We've lost our canal. We have lighting intrusion in our property. They built an amphitheater right next to, and an oversized building right next to a community. So our quality of living has definitely gone downhill since that building has been put there. And this amphitheater is also known as a parking lot, parking garage, which amplifies all the alarms that go off. It shelters in the neighborhood. So there's a chance to help me and my neighbors, or my neighbors and myself, and that is by, there's a vacant lot right next to the amphitheater. And we need a park in the neighborhood, and I think we also need, the Causeway Square said they were going to landscape the end of our street. They haven't done anything. The curb is there. It's abandoned. It looks like you could put some junk cars and tires there. And it's been like that for whatever. I think the city attorney should look into suing, or tearing down the building because it didn't comply. You gave half of our street away in the neighborhood, but now we have a chance to put a park there.
Discussion on K.
And maybe plant some trees to abate the noise from the amphitheater parking lot, parking garage, multi-story with intrusive lights into our neighborhood. Anyway,
roughly how much is that, Bill? Just roughly.
I think I asked Councilman Blinn to look into it, and if he can add some information.
Yeah, it's a full empty lot you could build a house on. It's worth at least $300,000. Probably, I don't know, to build a park is another matter, but to buy the land and build a park, maybe $500,000.
Well, there's no turnaround on the end of our street because half of the street was given away. My sidewalk has been torn up. I've called 2 years to Junior and Public Works, and nothing's ever been done. They tore my swell area up, and it just, I think if a park was put there, they could put a roundabout inside of it, and maybe a dusk to, or a daylight to dusk type of park. And it would add to some green space in the city. I mean, how much land is left to put in parks and so on? And, if it's a dog park or whatever you want to call it. But something needs to be done to justify and also clean our neighborhood up. I mean, our property values are up. We pay taxes. I mean, so does everybody. But,
all right, no problem.
And also, the avocados are getting ripe on the tree.
Oh.
So mention that.
Thank you. I'll be there to get a few. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Really, thank you very much.
Good evening, Sergio Silvestre, 14951 Royal Oaks Lane, the Oaks at Biscayne Landing. I wanted to inquire as to what's going on with the status of the amenities package and funding that's supposed to be given to the Oaks. As a member of the homeowners of there, I've not heard anything. I've not seen any action being taken on the land without me having to call and complain about overgrowth, knock down fences, and it's taken 2 months for a response on that. And I would also request that the $3 to $4 million for the Oaks amenity package, those reserves be funded here by the city should the developer fail to allocate that money to the Oaks, since you guys failed to put that in the contract with the developer that the Oaks would get their amenities package from the developer.
Okay.
So that's my request. Thank you.
Sure.
My name's Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125th Street, Sunkist Grove. I stand before you today, council members and mayor, saying I'm really kind of shocked and appalled by the way this whole matter is being handled. It appears to me that there would be to call in a professional to handle this issue, since no one seemingly knows an appropriate and proper way to do it. I would like to see the monies deposited in an account, and only the interest used for various needs around the city, because home comes first. The city library is in great need of funding, and it's a priority that I would like to see the city entertain with the monies. I would recommend, or I'd like to see, a third party called in to help to manage this financial situation. It's improper for people to come forward and ask for money off the top. That's outrageous. And the attitudes that I have seen displayed here by people making requests and asking for things is so inappropriate. That in itself should disqualify them from any request. So this is what I have to say. Thank you.
Good evening. Joseph Haber, 2096, Alamanda, Keystone Point, District 2. We've taken in a very good amount of money, although not to belabor the point that I think we lost out on some major opportunities. We are where we are at this point with the $17.5 million, $5 million of which is being put into reserves. And now, tonight, we're facing the possibility of $12.5 million being spent tonight at this meeting, possibly all of it. It's scary, it's shocking. There won't be any money left for my kids, for sure, out of this Biscayne Landing money. And I think that a lot of this money was intended for the kids. According to the city manager's proposal, there was $4 million being proposed or requested as just funds for the mayor and council alone to spend at their discretion. That's outrageous. And I really hope that the people who are elected in the seats that make the decisions don't do that tonight or any night in the near future. Putting away $5 million is not enough. And if we can't restrain ourselves from putting away another $12.5 million when we have a balanced budget, when the money is there to pay all our bills, and we're getting into the green and live off of that interest, then I think that we need to consider the option of spending no more than 1/5 of the $12 million a year, $12.5 million a year for the next 5 years, as the full $17.5 million was originally suggested as a number that represented 5 years of rental income and covering the costs of Biscayne Landing for the next 5 years. So if we spend $12.5 million tonight, and that money leaves our bank account in the next month, then what happens next year when these great organizations come to us and ask us for money? Where's it going to come from? Because there won't be money in the budget, and the $12.5 million will be spent. So I think that we really need to consider making sure that we curtail the amount of money that you spend, and that you guys keep a real tight grip on how much money we have and keep it to an absolute minimum, keeping in mind the will of the people and the voters and what their most important concerns are. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Irene Cinto. I live in San Souci. I'm not a mathematician, but I know that this money that we've gotten from the sale of Biscayne Landings is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I don't think this city is ever going to see something like this again. Tonight I've noticed a lot of people that seem to have a sense of entitlement to this money. Nobody's helping me. Nobody's helping my husband grow his business. Maybe I should be out here with my hand held out, but I'm not. This money needs to be working for us in an interest-bearing account. I agree with what this woman back here just said. Perhaps a third party needs to come in and make sure this is all being done properly and legitimately. I'm appalled to see what's been happening in this city. I've been living here as a resident for 24 years, and my husband on a commercial level for 28. We've never asked for one handout, and I'm totally disgusted to see how everyone thinks they can put their hand out and ask for money. This money, if we let this go, this will never happen again.
Terry Dellison, Keystone Point. I believe that government should be run as a business. It shouldn't be looked at that there's this vast sum of money available for people's needs or discretion. And if you run it as a business, it will be there, perpetuate itself, and be able to fund future needs of the city, not necessarily personal people's requests. And I've been in business for 40 years, and I've run my business that way, and I'm still in the same business. So it must say something for that philosophy of, minding the money that you're spending. So I would encourage the city to basically invest the money they have, the principal, try and spend the interest, and if you do that, a very conservative approach, good times or bad, there will be money there for the city's needs. Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for the privilege of addressing you. I'm Maureen Birdie Horowitz, 2390 Bayview Lane. I lived in North Miami for 45 years. I was one of those 2,000 or so residents who voted in a special election to save the land that is now Biscayne Landing. It was a $12 million bond issue, paid off in 30 years, $1 million a year. I recently did a present value study of what that $30 million is. In present values, we spent $70 million to buy that land. $70 million. And it was to save it for public use. Well, now we're getting a piece of that money back, the $17.5 million. Not much of a return, but on the other hand, there is now an opportunity to generate tax revenues on the property. I think that that money should be allocated in some way to comply with our own capital improvements plan. This is an orderly way to direct expenditures over a 5-year period mandated by the state legislature through Florida statute. We've had extensive hearings at the Planning Commission level. We've had presentations from all those in the city who need capital improvements. And I would like to say that although it's a nice idea to have a little nest egg to generate revenues, there are other ways to generate revenues in the city, and that's by smart investment. The smartest investment we have ever made in this city, bar none, is MoCA. The existence of MoCA has led to the regeneration of 125th Street with the establishment of no less than, probably more than 7 new businesses, all high quality. MoCA Cafe, Cane de Sucre, 2 restaurants, and I went to lunch today at the Cane restaurant and it was packed. People are coming all over to go there. I also stopped in at MoCA to look at the exhibit. Let's talk about MoCA. What does it do for us? Besides creating an anchor for the downtown, it has given this city an international reputation. Our MoCA collection was in the Tate Museum in London, written up in the Herald Tribune all over Europe. Our MoCA is always celebrated in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, national publications. You cannot buy the kind of publicity that MoCA provides to this city. And what is it doing for the kids of this city? A lot. There is an active program. I think I read today on one of the brochures that 70% of the kids who are in the MoCA programs are Haitian children. These kids are learning not only about art and design and graphics, but economics. They're learning about education. They're being given career goals and choices and a pathway to their future. In our capital improvements program, we project 5 years of expenditures for MoCA. This has been approved by not only the Planning Commission after full hearings, but also by you as our council. You have already adopted a program for expenditures of funds. It says here in the fiscal year 2011 we should spend $8 million on MoCA. Now, it is unfortunate that the bond issue did not pass. Perhaps it was too large. I don't know why it didn't pass. But what we need to do is jumpstart MoCA's funding for their expansion, because that expansion means new revenues for the city through the development it will spur. We have already had the Urban Land Institute come into the city and spend, I think, almost a week and prepare a report at no cost to the city. And they concluded that unless MoCA becomes a real destination where people can stay for more than 45 minutes, you're not going to see the regeneration of your downtown. It is essential for the survival of the economic districts of this city for MoCA to have an expansion. Rather than putting the money in a bank account, the money should go to jumpstart MoCA's expansion, and sooner rather than later. We cannot wait any longer. The place is bulging at the seams. Art Basel will be here in December again, and once again, the jet setters and the collectors and the dealers will be in North Miami. We need a better MoCA. We need an expanded MoCA. In terms of programming and reputation and the talent that MoCA has, you cannot do better. But the physical plant is simply too small for the activities that it provides to this city and to the children of this city. So I encourage you, set aside, maybe you don't want to set aside $8 million for MoCA, but set aside a substantial amount for MoCA in excess of $2 million. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Maureen. Just no problem. The expansion is roughly about $12 million, and I mean, you know what happened with the bond issue, which is we lost by 150 votes. So you suggesting that we set aside about $2 million to jumpstart
a minimum of $2 million,
minimum of $2 million,
no less than $2 million.
Any recommendation what we do?
Look,
and how we go
I really don't know.
Fundings?
I think you really ought to ask your department head, Bonnie Clearwater. You know, what she thinks she needs to do to get her board on board for another attempt to fundraise, or her donors, or, she can probably, I would think you should sit down with her, the manager should sit down with her, and come up with a number that she can provide you. But I will tell you, as someone who put all that money into the Munisport property for all those years, I would hate to see this $12.5 million dribbed and drabbed away when we have a real super duper once in a lifetime opportunity right here in downtown Miami.
Thank you, Maureen.
Esther Blinn, 1990 Northeast 118th Road. I was a participant in Councilman Galvin's town hall meetings, particularly the second one. And there were all sorts of suggestions. The primary one was that which Ms. Horowitz did not agree with, and I greatly respect her opinion and was listening to it, and was inclined to perhaps not necessarily put all of it into an endowment to live on the interest. But before we do spending, except perhaps for targeted situations that dovetail into the capital improvements plan, I think we need to see what has happened with the grants that we already got. There was a $2.7 million grant that Councilman Blinn and Despinos got for rehabbing houses, giving mortgages, and then sending the money back to regenerate itself. Additionally, another $2 million came in for the rehabbing of houses. There are programs that have come into the city. They need to be, as somebody said, I believe, you, ma'am? Somebody should have an objective eye as to what we have and have we regenerated and grown that. A certain amount of money, whether it's the interest from putting the bulk of the money aside, must be dedicated absolutely to grant writers who will regenerate the money as well. We now became, in addition to the famous quote from Mayor Pierre, it was one of the 10 best cities in the United States, we are also a playful city USA, which Councilman Blinn had been advocating for years, which entitles us to grants and developing public-private partnerships with to rehab and regenerate and reinvent parks, which MoCA, by the way, the curator said she would entertain a program for rotating student art instead of art in public places, so we have sculptures. Mr. Blinn asked for senior exercise equipment for outdoors to bring elders together with children, as well as revamping the children's parks. And there are parks that need, there's the Basadi Park that's been neglected near the tennis courts. There's a lot of interest in from people in the community for the park near the Broad Causeway, as well as other parks. There's another program that I understand from Councilman Blinn, America in Bloom, which is a very cost-effective program for planting, which doesn't cost very much and brings great people together to beautify the city. I think we should be very circumspect. I happen to look at the allocations, and accounting is not my thing, but I thought we had $12.5 million. I saw $26 million as the total that you were going to spend. What? That makes no sense to me. So before we go on a spending spree, we ought to be very circumspect, and we need a report from the city manager about the programs that have already come into the city. And I am sure each of you who's gone to the State League and the National League has brought back monies or ideas that have generated funds. And I'm concerned because that $2.7 million was quite a while ago. So has it regenerated itself? That was the whole purpose of those federal dollars.
Mr. Blinn, your time is up.
Thank you.
Am I up, boss? Thank you. Susan Blumen, San Souci. Just to be a little redundant, but in a good way. You know, we've all listened to all the wonderful people that have come up, and I basically agree with just about everything everyone has said so far, because everyone has made sense. Representative Julian said some things in the beginning were actually a little frightening. I'm sure you all were taking it in and digesting that there's going to be some lessening of revenue coming into the city, not just possibly, but probably. And so that has to be taken into consideration. When I sat on a board for Miami Country Day School, we used to have workshops. Every year we would have a workshop, and the workshops would last a week. We would go away, and we would actually work on funding and budgeting and where money was coming from, planning on endowments for our teachers, because that's the only way that you could grow, you know, an area and education is with endowments. And it just seems like possibly this is just coming about so fast. I don't know, $12.5 million to spend. It seems to me that it requires a lot more thought than simply those of you who are up there, who I totally respect. You know a lot more about funding the city than I do. I just know about funding small things and families. But it seems to me that, as the lady over there said and some other people have said, that perhaps putting together some kind of a budgeting committee that you all are part of, and really taking apart what this city needs, what it doesn't need, and making a budget out of that. Maybe taking some and just putting more away with the $5 million, because, it's not going to come this way again. And what if we do have the hurricane? What if Sandy does come up and hit us, and blow us away, or another one? What are we going to do? Is the government and, all the insurance is going to take care of everything? So we have a lot of what ifs, the water plant and whatever. So all I'm asking is that you all really take into consideration not just little bits and pieces and putting it away, but possibly just tabling spending it all for now, really doing an in-depth budget workshop on this, and getting everything from everyone. I mean, the kids really do need it. We need to keep them off the streets. We need to get the parents motivated in managing their own children. I really love that whole idea, but I really, really wish that you all would take a little bit more time to decide where $12.5 million is going and possibly put more away until we really need it. Thank you.
Good evening, Carol Keys, 12550 Palm Road. When this first came up, our manager's not here. First glance, I was thrilled to see that all of the expenditures were for projects in the city. And I feel that this is our money, the citizens paid for it. I'd like to see the money going back into our city. So I'm glad, Mr. Manager, thank you for putting the money back into the city on your report. But looking at it again, I see that we have allocated $26 million. I thought we got about $22 million. I thought we had taxes that had to be paid, and the net amount was going to be for us to spend. So we've already allocated $26 million on this proposal, and I think we only have $17 million. Originally, there was going to be $5 million set aside in reserves. The schedule that you've proposed, there is nothing being set aside for reserves on this list. So I'm confused, because I thought, that would bring us down to 12, but we've got 26 million. I have asked repeatedly, I think we do need a proposed budget for the next an operating budget for the next 5 years to see where we're going to be. Our revenues are not really going to be increasing. We are not getting a dime from the developers of Biscayne Landing. We're not getting any rent for years 2 through 5 or 6. And I really think we need to do a budget before you start spending our money and make sure we have enough money to operate the city for the next 5 years. Putting aside 10, whether an additional $5 million, $5 million should be in our reserve, but we should be setting money aside just to make sure that our city is no longer going to be in a budget shortfall. So that's one thing. The last couple months, we've got organizations, wonderful organizations, coming in here asking for money. $10,000, $15,000. Tonight, you really wanted to give away $15,000 to a church and $45,000 to another children's organization, which is excellent. And if you do feel compelled that we need to start shelling out money to different organizations in this city under our new guidelines, I would say put aside some money that you want to spend the citizens' money, and that is the money, because we're giving away money lately and it's not in our budget. So if we are going to give away money, allocate your $1 million or whatever it is and do a proper vetting process and let people know that you are going to be giving out money, and let everybody come in and ask for it. The problem is you do that, in the next 3 months you've got some organizations, they're coming for money. What happens in 9 months when the money's spent and we've got more organizations? So you really have to put a cap on this or decide who you're going to be giving money to. And again, I think you do need to take your time. There's a lot of items on this list, and a lot of them are good. A lot of them are just not necessary. We don't need to spend money just because it's there to spend. And looking at this list, you've got $26 million of expenditures, and I think if you put aside $5 million and you pay your taxes, you really only have $12 million. So this list really doesn't make sense. and there's really no reason you have to spend this money tonight. Thank you.
Carol Prager, Arch Creek East. Finally, I'll be able to say the complete statement that I came to say tonight. The responsible thing to do is to prioritize the needs of the citizens in the city at large. All the neighborhoods in our city are in need of improvements. Property values are deflated, and in some areas they continue to fall, impacting our tax base, which is how the city makes money. I know that based on a Zillow on my home alone in the last year, not since 2008, but in the last year, my home has gone down in value of $80,000. So I would imagine that there are other homes throughout the city that are experiencing the same thing. My suggestion is that you work with each neighborhood, not just the homeowners associations, but reach out, like Mr. Rule was telling me earlier. As a social worker, you go out there and you reach out to the citizens, you get them together and you discuss with them what their needs are and their neighborhoods, and establish what priorities they have in their neighborhoods, so that if the neighborhoods are stabilized, they have a very good chance of having some type of increase in their property values. The biggest investment any American makes is the purchase of their home. And I think it's very important for this council to recognize that you need to support that type of investment that these people make. I think you need to make a budget. You need to understand how you would fulfill these needs. I think it would be, at this point, very irresponsible of the council to dole out money helter-skelter. The physical needs of the city need to be met before the needs of any nonprofit, any organization, any charity, and such. However, after identifying the needs of your community, of your citizens, your neighborhoods, if there are monies left available for foundations, nonprofits, and the such, these requests need to be examined very carefully too. These organizations that come before you for money need to establish themselves. It's my feeling that any organization that comes before the board should be established already in our city, at the very least 5 years, and have a proven track record of unbroken service to the citizens of North Miami. I'd like to say that Ms. Horowitz had such a compelling argument about MOCA, and I have to say I didn't even consider it. But I think you should really consider this. This is an investment in the future. This is something that exists. It's something that we have that's very, very valuable. My husband does a lot of business with people in Los Angeles, and it's come to our attention that every year for Art Basel, if that's the correct way to say it, they come here, and they go to the opening at MOCA, the Vanity Fair opening, and then they leave North Miami. There's nothing here for them to do. So I think we really need to look at that, because we do have a golden opportunity here. Maybe we're not as big as the Miami Design District, but there's no reason why we shouldn't be just like the Miami Design District. There's a lot of money flowing in that area. I'd also am in agreement with Ms. Blumen's concern. Should we have a natural disaster or a man-made disaster, this money will disappear in the blink of an eye. The federal government is no longer the cavalry. They do not come to your rescue. We are here on our own. So we really need to consider that too, given our locale. And then in closing, this wonderful lady here, who speaks so eloquently, I agree with her. I think maybe there should be an independent outside consultant to give you some recommendations about how best to go about investing this money. Investments make me nervous. Well, I have investments. It's all I keep my eye on. So if there are things in the nature of an endowment or investments being made, I think we really need to hire someone whose mind is just that and is not politically oriented. In closing, I'd like to say this. Many people will come before this board with many good reasons to ask for charity. But we need to take care of our own before we take care of others. And we can only be strong if we take care of ourselves, and what we benefit from that, we can then give out the excess that we reap from that investment. Please consider very seriously what you're doing with this money. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Please don't squander it.
Richard Bacchino, Arch Creek East. I'm in favor of putting the money aside, let it grow, and use the funds that we reap from that. That way we'll have it and then determine what to do with it, but at least we need to have some put aside. More than 5, preferably the whole thing, that we just spend what we get.
Thank you.
Linda Dellerson, Keystone Point. I came up with an idea, just like what Scott Galvin did with the town meeting. I'm not exactly sure with each representative, but if each council person up there would do the same town hall meeting for their district to represent the individual citizens that live within that section of who they represent, get together, just... Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Get together, just like Scott did, come in with a big board and many pieces of paper and pencil, and write it all down and have like a community gathering for each district for all 5 of you. Well, Scott's already done it. And then have the rest of the city come, and we can all come back together, or the 5 of you can all get together then once you have a list and narrow it down and see what's important to all of the citizens that live here in the city of North Miami. And then, as I stated earlier, if we as the citizens can find out how much is in the budget that's left to give to, say, the charities, or to give out to the MOCA, as Ms. Horwitz stated earlier, or this program, that program, or whatever is on the list, narrow it down from there. And then if an outside organization had to be brought in to review it, which I don't really feel that's a necessary expense for the city, but then again, maybe that is a good idea. So that's just a thought for the 5 of you who each have different districts that you all represent. Thank you.
Hello, Louise Poe, 12913 Exora Circle, Keystone Point. I just wanted to bring up something. Well, first of all, I agree with many of the people here, and probably most of you also, that say that you need to have careful consideration on what you're doing with this money. It is a one-time thing. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, not near future or far future. We have a big election on November 6th coming up. We don't know what's going to happen in, say, the next 4 years. One thing that I know, because I already sent in my absentee ballot, not saying what I voted for. However, there are quite a few amendments on there, 12 to be exact, and some of them are hard to read and hard to figure out, so I think you all should look at them carefully. 11 of them are still there. One was taken off. Quite a few of them are about exemptions, homestead exemptions that are going to increase. We may not get the money that you're used to getting. There's homestead exemptions that I agree with for the elderly, for veterans. There are quite a few. So you're not going to have the same tax base that you've been having. So keep that into mind too, please. Thank you.
Jim Tracton, Keystone Point. If we could put all of the money into an investment that would reach us somewhere as close to 10%, the city could live on $2.5 million a year extra and never lose any of the money they have put aside, which they'll have for emergencies. Thank you.
I'd like to get 10%.
You have to go to Mr. Madoff to get that kind of return, Mr. Jackson. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive, North Miami, Florida. You all have the opportunity to direct a great deal of money to appropriate areas. As a couple individuals have recently said, is the economy of our state and of the city is not looking good, especially if some of the amendments do pass, such as the exemptions and also some of the amendments that says that say that you won't be able to raise funds and taxes the way that we've done in the past. The economy is not growing that well, and so we need to be very careful, because this is a one-time upfront large chunk of money that we got from the developer, that we have to be very careful over the next several years. My suggestion would be to go back and look at some of the programs that had already been established in this city that were drastically cut, and see about restoring them to pre-2008, 2009, 2010, when we had to make some big cutbacks, restoring some of those programs, possibly restoring the $2 million that the developers had given toward MOCA, which is rightfully theirs, but was used to help deal with the budget shortfalls. I believe that should be replaced and properly earmarked back to MOCA. I believe that you should look at the urban development plan that they came here, and as Maureen Horowitz spoke about, they had made some suggestions. Some of those suggestions have actually been put in place by this council, such as the directional signals, the signage downtown. That was just part of it. There's a plan laid out that would be very good for you all to look at. It definitely would save some of the money, but the biggest investment you can make is the investment into your community, and investment into your infrastructure, and investment into your parks. I was at 2 parks today, and looks like the parking lots haven't been re-asphalted in 10, 15 years. So it may be some of those things you might want to look at. If you are planning on spending this money, and we don't know the exact dollar amount, because I know some money has been is suggested to be allocated, so we don't know what is exactly out there to invest, that some one-time projects were always very important, where if you only had the money, you would do this because it was only a one-time event, a one-time project, and it wasn't part of the reoccurring budget that you have to deal with. So you all have big decisions to make. Please be wise about it. I believe that you all are in tune with most of the communities. And maybe, and this is something I had suggested before, is if we look at the city as a whole, and that no matter what project you do, if it benefits any part of the city, that it benefits all the city. Whether it's a new community center on the west side, or something on the east side, or in Central City, anything that's done helps the whole city. What has happened in the past is that we piecemeal some money. One district gets 100,000, another district gets 50,000, another district gets 100,000. That $100,000 didn't go very far in each individual district. If you had taken that $300,000 or $400,000 and put it on one major project, you would have had a much bigger impact in the community. And you rotate it each year, instead of piecemealing it each year, it may you may get bigger bang for your bucks. Also, you need to look at what is generating money for you. So you want to invest the money to help you generate money, and if that's helping some of the small businesses or creating more parking or making things a little bit better for the business district, which in turn will create more money and create more jobs. And you would definitely want to consider investing in downtown, since you have Biscayne Landings. Was always a concern that Biscayne Landings was going to get all the attention, and what was going to happen to this central city, and that's one of the reasons we focus so much on trying to redevelop downtown. There's a town called Carmel, Indiana, which
Mayor,
was...
Your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, hearing no more comments, public hearing is now closed on item K4. Mr. City Manager, this is the first time I'm hearing that, and it's very disturbing. There was a $2 million that we received from Biscayne Landing for the purpose of serving Mocha, and we use it into the general fund budget.
Mayor, I have no information or knowledge to really comment on that. That was probably...
When did that happen? Is it before this administration?
It was not during my administration.
Okay. Well, I guess, somebody Mrs. Clearwater, I think she was here somewhere. Is she still here? Yeah. Okay. Are you aware of a $2 million that was given to the... Can you come to the podium, please? Because, are you aware of a $2 million that was given to Mocha and the city? Take that money and use
Bonnie
it for...
Clearwater, Director of the Museum of Contemporary Art. These are things that were done through the city, so I'm not exactly sure what the circumstances are, but as you all recall, there was a escrow account created with Biscayne Landings, in which $1 million every year for, 8 years, was to be given into the escrow account in order to go towards the construction of the museum.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, I think, $2 million was collected. I'm not sure. I know $1 million was collected. I don't know about 2, but I don't know. No one has talked to me about this, so I don't know what it is.
Okay. Well, the funds that were collected, that's the one that we use to pay for architectural drawings. So there's no such a thing.
Sorry.
That was to the CRA, Mayor. That $1 million was provided to the CRA for architect and engineering, and those funds have been expended to the point that the architect and design work has been completed. There's just a minor process dealing with the survey of the property, and it's still in that stage. So basically, the program came to a halt on the submittal of plans or the finalization of those plans, pending identifying a funding source, which was through the bond issue initially, but we are still at a point that $1 million has been expended or in the process through the architect and engineering until we find a funding source.
Okay. I recall that before I got here, there was $1 million that was exchange hand from Biscayne Landing for Mocha. Maybe it was expended prior to me getting here, because I don't recall ever, and that's something that I would not do. You know how much I support that museum and what we have seen so far. So
I don't know. No one has explained it.
Okay, no problem. So maybe that happened before I got here, and I don't know exactly. I don't know why would anybody want to do such a thing. But I remember the deal that was made about $1 million a year for 8 years for $8 million, and the initial payment was made for $1 million. I guess the prior budget director before I got here probably used that money to do something else at the time that didn't really have to, but I don't think that was the only funds that I think that came in back in 2008 or maybe before I got here in 2009. Then from there on, the property went directly into foreclosure. We never got any additional funding since I've been here for Mocha. And I remember all the conversation that took place. No funds ever came in after I got elected. So it must have happened before that, and they use it for something else. Okay?
I don't know, because this is
no problem. No, that's okay, because I know during my administration that never happened. So they used it for someplace else before I got here. Thank you so much, Mrs. Clearwater. Well, to me, so far out of that $17.5 million that we received from Biscayne Lending, the first thing we did, basically we listened to our residents and put away almost 30% of that money, and which was $5 million. And everyone have to keep in mind that initially, when the first Biscayne Lending proposal was put together, the issue was basically there was a 1-for-1. So a lot of the fundings and a lot of the projects were supposed to rehab the houses that we have on the west side of the city. So a lot of this money that we receive, I truly believe that is supposed to be doing exactly what was promised from the initial Biscayne Lending deal. That's number one. Number two, I have the contract in the office. Number two, there was language in that agreement basically said that we needed to have a new library. Okay, but the language was vague enough, which allowed the developer to, I guess, violate the contract, and we never got the library that we need. We even went to the county, trying to get the county to build a county library. That didn't happen, and now our library is still in desperate need. And I know this manager went forward and found some money, basically, bring the library up to date. And I want to say thank you to our IT director, Mr. Ricardo Castillo, for installing a Wi-Fi in the library. In addition to that, outside the plaza, the 24 new computers were installed, but it's still not enough for our library. And that was supposed to be part of the initial proposal, which we never got. And thirdly, there were supposed to be an Olympic training facility. I think we spent 5 or 6 years, paying $200,000-$300,000 a year to get an Olympic training facility. But again, the language in the contract allowed them to violate that agreement. We never got exactly from the initial proposal. So all this time we were negotiating with Biscayne Lending, basically, the upfront money that we got, it was a lot to do what we were supposed to do initially, which is the library, which is the housing, Olympic training facility. I don't think that was really an issue that would have come forward. But the issue when it comes to, the annual base rent, the annual base rent is $1.5 million. So if you take that into consideration for 5 years, I guess that add up to a total of what, $6 million? Can somebody help me do the math?
7.5.
$7.5 million for the annual base rent. But in addition to annual base rent, we're also getting participation rent. In addition to participation rent, we're also getting certain obligations scattered all over the 16-year construction period, which is a $1 billion project. So basically, to me, 30% of that money already put away, put in reserve. Sitting there, I'm hearing some additional, recommendations. I think, that's definitely the thing to do. I see what you suggested or what you have provided to us, which is you put them in no specific order. What's important. You're just saying, hey, we need $26 million worth of rehab in the city of North Miami, and the city council has to decide whether they want to do how much of it that they want to do. Obviously, we cannot do all of it because the funds, it's really limited. But if you look at the North Miami Public Library, basically the children books are all outdated. Right now, they need about 500 children book in that public library. In addition to the children book that are outdated, the library environment, which is an area that is great need. The carpet is 20 years old and is discolored, and you have stain all over the place. You cannot really clean that carpet, and I think it needs replacement. The children room, some of you that have never been in there before, basically this is the furniture is outdated. It's not inviting to children, and I think right now they are tutoring session going in there. I don't know how many kids. One time I walked in there was about like 40 kids that are being tutored in that children room. The library tables and chairs clearly outdated, maybe 20 years old. You have the teen area, another space that needs some help. You have the carpeting, the ceiling tiles. I think at one point the manager, you and I walked in there, and I think, part of it was falling off. You have some of the carpeting that are in the program room, which needs to be replaced. So you have a library that in serious need, and it just seemed to me that this library definitely need a shot in the arm, and I think we should put $1 million on the side to set and fix this library in the city of North Miami. So I'll make a motion to get $1 million to the North Miami Library.
Can we have discussion from other? I mean, I love the idea. I hear the applause, but before you've spent $1 million of the $12 million, I think the rest of us should at least have a chance to talk.
Oh, you could. I mean, you could talk. I mean, there's many of you going to get a chance to talk about. Right, and I'm making my motion about the items that I would like to see. Then from there, we move on. I mean, you could vote for it if you want to. You may not want to vote for it if you don't want to. Then from there, I'll turn it over you to I'm going to turn it over you. I'm going to turn it to you, Mr. Blinn, to make your recommendation as we go through. Then from there, it go to Councilman Marcellus. So basically, I'll make my motion. You could have discussion on my motion on that item for $1 million.
Can we simply have discussion and then start voting on money items? Because
it's premature to vote on something.
I just want to hear from everybody and get an idea. Because if you spend $1 million and he spends $3 million and he spends $5 million, by the time it gets to me and the councilwoman down here,
there's no money left.
And right, but you follow
premature.
What I'm saying.
Let's vote on
we always talk about what types of items, ask some questions, and then
vote on the allocations after we all speak.
Well, I have no problem with that suggestion. I'm just letting you know that the work that must be done in the city, and when the manager referred to the capital improvements, the 5-year capital improvement that we have sitting there, we definitely need to go directly into that. Now, I know the housing department, there's about 250 people that are sitting in district 2, waiting for the housing to be repaired. These folks some of them has been waiting since early 2009. We have folks that are sitting there, and the list continue to grow. You got about 225 of them in District 3. You have a lot of them in District 4. You just got a few in District 1. To me, with this funding, initially, as I said, this is, again, the initial agreement was to refurbish the old aging housing stock we have in the city of North Miami. And now we got the list of about 735 folks that are waiting there, waiting for their houses to be repaired. And I think it's a matter of time that we get to them, because they have been waiting for a very long time. So I think, there must be $1 million that must be set aside for this housing department that we have in the city of North Miami. Secondly, the Police Athletic League has been sitting there waiting for a home. They have been moving from one place to the next. And basically, I think the property has been given to them, which is right there right next to North Miami Senior High School. They're doing a fundraiser next weekend, which they has the potential of raising a lot of money, but it's not going to be enough for them to get a home. And I think a home is probably going to cost them about $3 to $5 million. And I think it's time that we do well for our children, and at least to give them $1 million for what they need to do. And lastly, I see the list that you gave me. I'll support, most of the capital improvements that you have going on in the city of North Miami. But maybe to jumpstart MOCA, I think we should give MOCA $2 million at the minimum, so we could get that project jump-started while we find other ways and other means to finance that museum. So that's all I really have beside what the manager suggested, and I want to hear what the other council members would like to suggest, which way is the best way to do this funding. Councilman Blinn.
I am basically a fiscal conservative. I requested this money, and we got it from Mr. Swirlo because we lost the museum money We lost the library money, and we lost the Olympic Center money, and this made up for that. Well, the Olympic Center is never going to be built, and we're not building a new library. I am suggesting, and please listen to me carefully, a one-year hiatus, that we invest this money at the highest interest rate, which I assume could be as much as 4% with minimum risk, which is approximately, for the whole 17 million, about what is, well, do we have the 5 million invested already?
Through the mayor, Councilman Bland, let me just inform all of you and everyone that there are state laws that restrict cities and how they invest city funds.
We're not allowed to invest in bonds.
We are highly restricted. The finance director and I have met with Bank of America. I've also have met with 2 financial investors. I've had several meetings with those financial investors with several banks. The best the city is going to see is maybe 1.5% interest.
I honestly think we could probably get 2% because of the large amount of money we have. On 17 million, that's a considerable amount of money.
As strange as it may sound, Bank of America, BBVT,
it's 350,000.
They all say the more that you have, the less interest you will get.
I disagree there. On Wall Street, it says the more you have, the more interest you can get.
So I can only just say that what the law is, Bank of America.
Let's presume.
Let him finish, please, Mr. Blinn. I'm dying to hear this answer.
You heard it already.
Bank of America has provided us with those laws.
Right.
They do government. They do handle municipal and governmental funds. The best that we're going to see is 1.5% interest.
Well, let's say things change and we can get 2%. It's $350,000 a year. That is not a lot of money, but if you put that in perspective and we get grants, and many grants, all we have to put up is 25 to 50%. We can turn that into $700,000, even $1 million a year with grants, just for 1 year. If we can't do that in 1 year, we can come back here and discuss what the mayor is discussing right now. I'm asking for a 1-year hiatus. Invest the money, get the interest, and try to get the grants. You would be very surprised what grants are available out there. I asked for a full-time grant writer. I know there are grants available because of the National League of Cities and the Florida League of Cities, which I served on the board of directors for 4 years. There are grants galore. And if you put up half the money, or even a quarter of the money, there's even considerably more grants. That will pay for immediate expenses. Could you tell me, does the city have a crisis in every area, any area of the city, that we immediately need money? A crisis.
Through the mayor, Councilman Bland, and that was one of the reasons why we asked for the reserve. I think it was made mention, if we have a disaster, the city has to pay the expense first. Then
we have the $5 million to cover that.
Correct, and we would depend on FEMA reimbursement, which would approximately be only 80% if all of those items are.
I understand that, but we have the $5 million to cover that.
Correct.
So the other $12.5 million can be invested. And most of these investments, you can take the money out any time. There is no time frame where you can't remove it. All right, let's try that for 1 year. That's all I'm asking for. On the scale of economics, that is still a large sum of money. No one is starving to death in the city. No one can use the library because the floor is not covered properly. Yes, they can still use the library and still wait 1 year. What else? Streets can wait 1 year? Police cars? Well, some of that $1 million or $500,000 can be used to buy new police cars. I mean, some of them are just going to be running into situations where they're not usable anymore, I presume. That's what you were talking to me about. I mean, we reached the end of the line for some of our vehicles. We have no choice but to buy new vehicles. Well, that's something that's, I consider, ladies and gentlemen, a crisis that has to be addressed. That is my suggestion. I don't want to go into any more detail. I want you to vote on that, and I'm making a motion that 1 year hiatus, put the money into the maximum interest, get the maximum grants. If it doesn't work out, we have 1 year to think about what investments we can make for the future, or go ahead and spend the money on what I consider crisis management for the city. In 5 years, with Biscayne Landing will be delivering to us large sums of money. Maybe less than 5 years. I've been told that they're going to have buildings up there in 3 years, and we'll be getting a large percentage, 4% of their gross, which could be hundreds of millions a year. So our problems will be over. We ran a deficit, government of North Miami ran a deficit last year, 5.8 million. By the grace of God, we got money from something that might not get money from anymore, red lights, well over $1 million. It's $1.8 million in this year's budget. We got money for selling our solid waste equipment, which was several $1 million, and we got money from the condos at Biscayne Landings. Those are one in a lifetime, maybe, increases into our budget. We don't know what the future holds. We are in a situation today, the stock market went down 240 points, and so did it go yesterday. We could be in a second crisis. I don't know what's going on in Europe. We got to be fiscally conservative. We can't afford to spend this money. If we don't have an economy that's improving, and it is improving very slowly, but it could be years and years before the city makes up for its losses. The city property values, ladies and gentlemen, have gone down $1 billion or more in the last 5-6 years. They're not coming back tomorrow. They may come back in 5 or 10, 15 years. We're never going to have the revenue we once had. And we cannot hire the employees that we lost. We cannot run the city like we used to run it. We have to be fiscally conservative. The money must be invested for 1 year. I'll give it just 1 year. If it doesn't work out, I'll be happy to approach this the way the mayor is approaching it. So I vote for all of you, and I really appreciate a second, a 1 year hiatus, invest the money in the maximum we can obtain in the market, and get the maximum grants, and live on that for 1 year.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought we were waiting for everyone to finish before we get into that.
No,
we're not doing that anymore.
There is no charity has a crisis.
So let's do it another way now.
Now, if Mr.
I thought that's what we all agreed to, that we were going to wait till everybody finished talking.
This is a different concept.
This is another concept.
This is a concept that we wait 1 year and see what the market holds for us.
We should forget everything that we discussed earlier, so now this is the way we're going to do it, right?
I went to...
Mr. Mayor, your point is well made. I'll withdraw my second.
What? I went to Scott's hearings.
Councilman,
the citizens want this. The majority of the citizens in the east side, and maybe on the west side too, want something like this. We do anything different, we're not doing what the citizens really want in the city, and that's fiscal conservatism.
You showed up to the workshop that I had. 150 people were there. That's not what they wanted. So
except they were speaking Creole, so I didn't understand them.
You didn't understand what they were saying. Okay. So
they want individual. I can't reward one citizen at a time when there's 60,000 citizens in the city.
Okay.
We have to maximize the money for the maximum number of citizens.
Councilman Marcellus?
Oh, wow. It's money, and probably I'm very nervous when we discuss money. And please, ladies and gentlemen, bear with me. Let me start by beginning just like that. When we were elected and took oath to this office as the head of the government, our fundamental responsibility is to protect life and wealth of the people.
Right.
We might give me hundreds of examples how we do that, but by the end of the day, it's going to remain the same thing. Our ultimate responsibility is to protect life and wealth of the citizens. make no mistake about it. The wealth of the city is the wealth of the people. Is that ours? Saying that, I just want you to think and how you're going to spend and the wealth of these people. Remember, we get hired by the people to manage the wealth through a system called election. One 4-year term for the council and 1 2-year term for the mayor. That teaches us something. We're not there permanently. We're just there for a job temporarily. As a matter of fact, 3 of us in this council, 3 of us, 1, 2, 3, only have 6 months left, 6 months left over in this office. Only 6 months. One of us on that 3 is guaranteed he's not going to come back here for the next budget hearing. And 2 of us may or may not grant an additional term. Saying all that, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow colleagues, we have a responsibility. We have to make a sound decisions. How we going to manage the people's wealth? One big piece that you're probably missing on this thing is we're just talking about the $17.5 million. Of course, we received that $17.5 million. But one thing you guys then mentioned, $7.5 million out of that 17.5 is an advance paid. They paid us in advance because for the 5 years we're not going to get paid. Our money is $1.5 million a year. Since, to be exact, we're only going to get $200,000 a year. In other words, to be exact, it's $6.5 million is an advance payment that we get from Swedlow Development. If we really want to be a sound management, we want to manage well, we have to take that money in consideration because it's an upfront money they give us. And let's say that if we come to some what we call unfounded liability, unforeseen situations, and Representative Julian just stated not too long ago, right here in this council chambers, we will lose up to about $2 million next year. We don't know. That's in revenue. The red light camera, we may lose this revenue for that, and the business receipt. That's another way we can lose money. Listen, last year or this year, we balance our budget and with a surplus. We brag about it. We say that's good, and that's very important because we balance our budget and we have a surplus. Let's think for 1 second. If the next 9 months that to come, all 3 of us may happen not to be here, and the new council has to deal with a shortfall, and they will not be able to balance the budget. How you guys will feel? I can tell you that much. I will feel very bad, devastated, and incompetent, and very guilty of that when we realize we blow that money away. For that, all that reasons, once again, I may ask you to take in considerations how we going to spend that money. Therefore, I myself probably propose the same way the mayor and Councilman Bland proposed. We already have $5 million in reserve. That $5 million is set aside already. And the city manager says we have to take $3.5 million for the employees for the next 3 years. We talk about that. I think he talked to every councilman about that. That's make it another $8.5 million. Now we do not have $12.5 million anymore. And I will take off another $6.5 million, the advance money that we get paid from Mr. Swedlow, and add it to the $5 million. That will give us $11.5 million. The other $3.5 million is already budgeted for 3 years for the employees, the back payment. Okay? We already budgeted for that.
Future payment.
Future payment, because we were, that's what, manager, that the $3.5 million, that's the money we already budgeted for that. We say this is the money that we're going to pay the employee that we didn't pay for the, or how we explain that? Just tell me.
Through the mayor, Councilman Marcellus, we restored the employees. This year we have a balanced budget, but what we would like to do is have that funding to lead us into year 5 or the next 3 years after this year until those fundings from Biscayne Landing or the market does come back. So that's what that was for.
Okay, that's $3.5 million set
Correct.
aside. Okay, now let's say that while you said we don't know if the market is come back, and we know for fact we probably our expenditure probably more than our revenue. Now, if we say we have any unfunded liability, and like the Representative Julian just mentioned to us, we may lose some revenue, we probably in big trouble next year.
Right.
And the new council that probably replace us right here, when they go through the budget hearing, it's probably a shame of us if we cannot take this thing in consideration. Okay, like I said, I propose myself the $6.5 million add to the $5 million we already have in reserve. That's make it $11.5 million for reserve. And the other $3 million, 0.5, we added, that's make $15 million. And we probably have we will have $2.5 million left over. The $2.5 million, I think, we have the police cars.
Right.
We have some work in the library. We have some work in the city hall. And we have some organization. We have a lot. Then let's put that $15 million away. Then we'll come back with the $2.5 million. We sit and we discuss that. We look at the budget for it. Then we put everything in place. I make a motion, right? Oh no, I cannot make a motion because the mayor said we have to discuss it.
He can't stop you from making a motion.
But this is anyway. These emotions. If I can get a second after that, that's my.
I'll
that's
second
the
it.
way I think
I
we
second
should
it.
proceed to this situation.
I'm sorry, Councilman Marcellus, for clarification, you want to propose to add $6.5 million to the reserve account. I got that much. You want to add an additional 3.5 to the reserve account? Did I hear
The
that?
$3.5 million is the money. Yes, the city manager already discussed for the employees That's make it $15 million.
So you want to add that to the reserve account as well?
That money automatically is going to be in the reserve, but it's for special expenditure, okay? And they already allocate for some things. Let's make it $15 million.
Okay, thank
and
you.
the $2.5 million, we left it over, and we know the police cars is a must. Is very important for us. We have 112 police units.
You didn't leave anything for us to decide on, right?
Because I think the city is coming first, is a priority, and if we have in any event, any situations, and the money is there, we can take a look at it, and if any emergency come, we have a place to tap on. Because for the next 2 and 3, 4 years, we don't know what the market will bring. And for the taxes right now, instead of increase, we probably have a big decrease this coming year. That will put us in a shortfall. And this is the way I think we should proceed, and to manage the people wealth, not because it's not ours. Let's very cautious the way we're managing. Thank you.
I second his motion.
You're making a motion.
Yes. Okay, so you make a motion and you second the motion, so we're not doing discussion anymore, right?
I can count to 3. No, we're
Okay.
not doing discussion anymore because I can go for that
we're
motion.
we're not doing discussion anymore.
I call for a vote.
Okay, so you call his motion for a vote.
So do I have to pull out the woman card or the discrimination
No.
card? Which card do you guys want me to play?
It's the count to 3 card. I've been on the losing end of most of these. Let's see if we.
So have I.
No, it's not. No, you guys have your chance, so all of us gonna have a chance to put on. So
There's a motion. I'm going to go procedurally to the Sergeant at Arms, our city attorney. If there's a motion on the table,
Councilman,
it's been
are you willing to withdraw your motion till you finish this? The discussion is finished.
You guys wanna-
Are you willing to withdraw your motion at this moment, or you want to continue with your motion?
Just wait a second.
The question is, do you want to continue
just
with
let me
your motion?
answer. Let me answer that
Okay, go ahead
question.
and answer your question.
But
then.
don't pressure me to answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Listen, just for the principle, since.
No, sir. Do you want to continue with your motion, or you want to withdraw your motion?
Oh no, I'll continue with the motion now.
Okay, good. Okay, he made his motion.
Question's been called.
Call for a
So
vote.
you guys, let me clarify. So after the 3 of you speak, which we agree that all of us will speak, so you make a motion to actually vote on something that not all of us actually talked on.
Right.
Is that what it is?
That's his motion.
Listen, I make a motion right now, and the motion stand.
Okay.
And I second it.
Okay, and the motion has been seconded. All in favor of his motion?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay. So now we get into.
Now we have $2.5 million.
Okay. What happened with K2 and K3? Are we? There was a request for $45,000 and a request for $10,000. I make a motion to give $45,000 to Shirley Planton of Family Impressions. Okay. Anyone willing to second the motion? Okay. No one willing to second the motion, Shirley? I make a motion to give Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity $10,000 for the work that they have done in this community. Okay. No one willing to second the motion. The motion dies. Now we move into citizen forum.
Mayor, may I get some clarity on?
I think Mr. Clerk has all the information. Basically, an additional, I guess the $3.5 million that you add for the city employees, you got that. Then there's $2.5 million left over to spend, which need to be discussed. I guess that will be discussed at
council meeting.
Oh, it could be discussed right now.
No, it's too late.
I don't know if police car. Did you?
The way I
Well, it
wrote
said for police cars, right?
No, not 2.5 million.
Like
for
he
police
said,
cars.
for police cars and other.
He mentioned the
He
library.
He
mentioned City Hall. He mentioned City Hall, police cars.
Well, can you make it clear
Grants.
what you want to do with the
You
$2.5
mentioned
million?
several things.
May I make a friendly amendment?
Can you
or
give me
friendly
1 second? He has the floor.
Yes, we say for the $2.5 remaining $1 million, we have the police cars, we have the library, we have the city hall, and we have some organizations that, like Mrs. Shirley's, and
To be allocated at a later date, was that my understanding?
Yeah, later date, not tonight.
Allocated at a later date.
Before the vote was taken, the statement allocated for a later date wasn't said, and I got it verbatim here. He simply said the 2.5 million is to be expenditures for police equipment, library, city hall, and other expenditures. Now you guys can choose to do it at a later date, but right now that was already passed.
Yeah, let's do
Right.
it later.
Yes, later date.
Okay, citizen forum.
Jessica Galston, 1140 Northwest 125th Street, Suncrest Grove. I would like to propose to the council that please, in a nonpartisan way, you put a request for proposals if you intend to give money to nonprofit organizations, and they're on a level playing field with a deadline for applications. They all get the opportunity to submit through an application procedure their requests. There'd be a review committee or some way to review it, and then it be presented the finalists, and a decision be made as to who will be funded or not.
Any additional citizen forums?
Esther Blinn, 1990 Northeast 118th Road. I know you usually don't answer questions. But I understand.
Please don't bring up Biscayne Landing right now, Esther.
What?
Please don't bring up Biscayne Landing.
No, I'm just.
Please don't bring up Biscayne Landing. We just voted.
I understand that.
Please don't bring up Biscayne Landing.
Councilman
Please.
Galvin.
I can read
That's
your mind.
amazing.
Don't
I
interrupt
can
her,
read
please.
I know, but just going to reopen the can of worms. We just voted. Let's move on.
I didn't.
Okay.
I haven't even opened my mouth yet.
All right. I'm sorry.
Well, freedom of speech reigns again. Okay, what I wanted to state on the record that I think that you all are to be commended. I'm sorry that Councilwoman Sterrell wasn't able to put her contribution in, but it will come when future discussions are held. I also wanted to commend everybody for their participation in this evening's meeting, and wish you a good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. In the 50 years that I've lived here, I don't think I've been happier than this evening. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Marcellus. Thank you very much, sir. And Mr. Blinn.
Job well done.
And Madam Sturrill, I too am sorry that I didn't hear from you, and you should have had your moment, but I'm sure that you will in the future, and when you do, we will be backing you up here in the audience. Thank you and good night.
Job well done.
Joseph Haber, not to belabor the point, but Councilman Marcellus, she came through for the people tonight, and that was big.
Yep.
Right. Very happy to see that there's some control over the spending, and most importantly, no more sleepless nights worrying about all of our money being spent overnight. Thank you.
Good evening again. Annie Montgomery, 2082 Laurel Lane. I wanted to share some good news with you guys and ladies. Hello? You hear me now? Bank of America, that has a lot of foreclosures, are working with a veterans organization that they are donating their homes to this veterans organization for veterans returning to our country.
Very good.
So that's happening as we speak. Hundreds of homes, not just in Florida, all over the country. Bank of America is donating them to this organization. So it's something that I thought we all should know about. Okay, and thank you, Mr. Marcellus. Thank you for the council for voting in favor of it. Have a good evening.
I know you're tired of seeing me up here tonight, but just a few last points of thoughts for the community. I was, through my daughter growing up here in North Miami, involved in an art docent program at her school. So one thought would be for other parents who have children in the school system to also get involved in the art docent program in the school systems here. They can donate their time to that. Also, citizens who live here in North Miami, those of you who would like to clean out your closets and you have growing children, could possibly donate books to the library, since the mayor mentioned that the library was in need of books. I know there's quite a few people that have tons and tons of books that the library would love to get, including magazines. And the last item I just wanted to say is to parents, where they could donate time for those of the parents who are not working, or possibly after work if they have extra time, to go to the library and teach some of the children there to read and write, possibly, in a program that the library could set up. I know my daughter was actively involved in that for quite some time, and I think that would also be very good for just 3 ideas for the children of our community. And thank you once again for this evening for your vote.
Citizen forum is now closed. Council reports. Councilman Blen.
Councilman Marcellus, thank you. I think you understand and developed an effective program for the future of the city. You displayed an increased sensitivity to the future of the city, and the city of this size and nature has a bright future because of you. Thank you so much. I want everyone to be aware that October 26th, Enchanted Forest, we're having our haunted trails. I don't think anyone has to tell you how great it is who's been there. We're also having a cocktail with cars at the 3rd annual PAL celebration, November 2nd. The Dozer collection at 2000 Northeast 146th Street. If you've never seen it, it's just worth going just to see the collection without the party. Be there or be square. Thank you.
No report.
Councilman Galvin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the honor of accompanying a group of students from North Miami Senior High School today to the new Marlins ballpark as they took a tour of the stadium and got to see some of the inner workings, got to go down by home plate, spend some time with a lot of different Marlins team employees. It was great, A, because you're seeing the Marlins organization giving back to kids in the area, and B, I was just a proud pioneer getting to see the excitement on the kids' faces as they learned that they could actually work for a major league sports organization without necessarily being the player or the coach. It was just wonderful to see their eyes light up as they realized all the different jobs that the Marlins offer. So tip of the hat to the Pioneers and to the Marlins. Speaking of the Pioneers, they are 3 wins and 4 losses on the football season. That might not sound like much to you, but it is easily their best season so far in almost 20 years. No?
When I played football there, we were 8-4.
Oh, you were 8-4? When was that?
When you were the coach.
Okay, so I take it back. And at 10 years, I was thinking of the original Swamp Dog team maybe being the but you get the idea. It's been a long time since they've won that many games, and in the division that they're in, the district that they're in, they'll actually have a chance to play for a district championship a little bit later in the year. And again, it's just exciting to see that program starting to turn around. And cheers for the pioneers. Myself and the Keystone Homeowners Association, along with the North Miami JCs, are hosting a kids pumpkin carving contest. It's our third annual one. It's coming up this Saturday, October the 27th. It'll be at the Keystone Tot Lot, and it's open for kids ages 4 to 14. It's free, and it's a great community building event. So if you've got a little one who wants to come out and carve a pumpkin, or if they're really little and they just want to use a magic marker and draw on the pumpkin, we do some of that too. But it's great to see the Keystone homeowners and the JCs coming together. That's all I've got. It's from 10 to 1 that day at the Keystone Tot Lot Saturday.
Vice Mayor?
Chamber luncheon.
Oh, they mentioned that at the top of the meeting.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have been up here for almost, 7 years. You are the second mayor that actually I serve with. This is the first time that I did not give a chance to express the desire, the needs of the people that actually represent in a sort of great project for the city. Although that I did agree with a lot of suggestions that was said in the audience, it's to me, it's not leadership when we allowed emotion take over of our decision making, and I think that's what happened up here. And it's sad to see that as a woman, I like to be able to be the woman up here, but not you guys. But tonight you show that you guys were the emotional one that actually decided to vote on the people's money. As we said, we allowed our emotion to take over. Because I know my colleagues, the people up here that I have been serving, some of you for the past 3 years, others for more than 7 years, that's not how we do business. We usually allow each other to express, no matter if we agree or disagree, but at least we understand that each one of us, beside the mayor, represent a specific and different group of people. That's why the city divided into district, because we have people that we represent. When Councilman Scott, the mayor, actually talked and list his item that he would like to see, and Councilman Galvin actually expressed that instead of making a motion, we should discuss it. And the mayor agreed, he'll allow it to happen. When we arrive with, when we get to Councilman Bland, the same thing that he make the motion, we allow it to happen because we feel that it's respectful, it's fair, not to me as a person, because I can care less about me speaking or talking, but it's fair. That's the reason that the city has been divided into districts, because we represent different part of the city. And I hope next time, ladies, that we not allowed our emotion to take over, because this is city business. So having saying all that, I hope that we remain adult, mature, elected officials, because we are representing the people, not ourselves. So the emotion, I can deal with it, but not allow me to represent the people that elected me. I have a problem with that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for your words of wisdom. Just got a couple announcements. Just briefly, the North Miami Chamber Luncheon, State of the City Address. I think so far there's over 250 people that's already confirmed for that event. So we're going to be having a fun afternoon with the job creators in the city of North Miami. Just don't forget, October 27th, there's 2 great events going on in the city. One is the Biscayne Landing Job Fair for North Miami residents, which is scheduled at the Biscayne Landing Sales Center from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And of course, early voting start on that day. Make sure you go out there and vote. Get out the vote. It's very important when you vote. With your vote, you says a lot about the people in the city of North Miami. November 2nd is the PAL fundraiser. It's going to be a great event at the Desert Collection, one of the largest James Bond museum in the world. I think he has maybe, I don't know, $200 million worth of cars, sitting in that museum. So there's going to be not only just a fun-filled night with casino, with music, with cars, but in addition to that, this is a fundraiser for the Police Athletic League.
Good food.
And good food. Don't forget, November 6th is Election Day. I won't be seeing you before Election Day. I will be out there canvassing and helping Obama win a second term for the great country of the United States of America. I was at the game on, was it Bernadette and I was at the game. Pioneers was playing against Dr. Michael Kropp. The game was 16-16. There was about 2 minutes left. We were on the 20-yard line. I mean, we had the ball on the 20-yard line and about to either score or let the time run out and kick a field goal, and the quarterback fumbled the ball. And that's how we lost that game. And if we, that game was going to take us to the playoff. And we got beat by Michael Kropp, So it was a game to watch, and I think there's probably one or two more games that are scheduled homecoming. And I think it's a couple dollars to get in. It's good to come out and support the home team. What many people don't understand is that sometimes, although the team is doing bad, but a lot of times when they have the fans, when they have the people behind them, sometimes they do better. So it was a heartbreaking game to lose because they were heading to the playoff. But it was a good game that the Pioneers played. Much better team. The kids are much better disciplined than the last 3 years that I've been watching those games. So hopefully, we put a better show next year. That's all I got. Mr. City Clerk, do we have any report from you?
No report, Mayor.
Ms. City Attorney?
Yes, I have a very short report. As you know, your representatives, the people that you chose to be on the Charter Review Board, have been meeting, and we are having a Charter Review workshop on November 19th. Each of you have your proposed charter, so I am anxious to meet with each of you before the workshop so we can go through it. I'd like to recognize two of the Charter Review Board members, Hans Marty and Carol Keys, who worked really, really hard and I think put together a product that I hope you're proud of, and I hope that the citizens will be proud of. And I'm going to ask that everyone participate in this process, as your charter is your constitution and important. And so hopefully we can have something that can present at the ballot in May.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to highlight what's happening on Biscayne Boulevard. We have construction going on in several places. We have places that was either empty, dilapidated, blight, but we have the new IHOP going up. Whole Foods is going up. The Old Biscayne building is underway. Johnson Wells University is underway.
My circle on 131st Street is up.
Absolutely. So we
don't forget
we're
Northeast
very
16th
happy
Avenue.
with just the frontage that we see on Biscayne Boulevard, and we'll continue that effort in other areas of the city. No further comments.
Great, thank you. And to the public, thank you so much for participating into this event. I'm sorry.
Move to adjourn.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Okay.